edition of the Clarity Café. I am your host, Josh, and happy holidays. Yeah, we're in it. We're almost to the end of 2025 and coming into 2026, according to the Chinese zodiac, the year of the horse. So we create momentum and we move forward and we accomplish what we want, what we set out to do. And we've got some, what I like to call cosmic inertia, which means this driving force. I'm feeling it in what I'm doing here on school and just, talking and sharing and hopefully inspiring, inform, awaken, expand consciousness. How's that? Cheers to that. How about you? How are you? How was your holiday? Drop some comments below. Let me know. Depending on who shows up. This is the third installment, the third Clarity Cafe, but that's okay. I'm still upgrading, aligning, redefining, realigning everything here. So I'm just going to keep posting these and, I'll upload a transcript. I think that's what I'm going to start to do too, is upload transcripts for those that want to, the gigabrains that want to dive a little deeper and go into more things. So the last couple of episodes, we've been talking a lot about energy and, doing certain protocols like grounding, sunshine, doing things to open yourself up. And that's something I always kind of talk about with clients when first doing a session with them. And this sort of, this is an overall, interactive component with healing. And even in psychic work, mediumship, remote viewing, telekinesis, ESP, all of these modalities, right? Depending on how open you are to them, they all require our vessel, right? This to be online, right? And it's important because that's how the communication is, right? It's sort of like a pipe. If the pipe is rusty and it's old and it's not gotten, the cleaning, or it's not been cared for or addressed, then blockage, flow is contracted, right? Contraction, expansion. And so that's totally important. One of the things that I do, you see in the background here, I have a sauna, red light. Well, it's far infrared, near infrared. It's far infrared sauna. It's an older model. And saunas, kind of go there. There we go. I've done some sauna videos that you may have seen, may have not. I've got them on YouTube. And saunas are crucial. They are, especially in these times, right? We've just got so much coming at us from the food, the water, the air, the chemtrails, just everything is hitting us left, right, and center, right? If you're aware, then you take care, right? And then you share with other people. And, I've done that. I've learned to kind of conserve my energy when I do that, because sometimes it's like, according to human design, which I've mentioned before, I'm a projector. So, we end up over delivering to those that aren't really ready to hear, right? They want to listen, but they don't want to hear, right? They can see, but they don't have vision. They know, but they can't sense. And these are very subtle, attributes that I think people have. What do I want to say? How does the sauna relate to that question? I'm glad you asked it. So saunas open you up. They unplug you. You get your pores open. Your skin's your largest organ. So when you get into a sauna, you open up your pores, you sweat, you're releasing all these toxins. And a lot of the toxins that are released are like volatile, VOCs, volatile organic compounds. And they come from everywhere, like in your car, in your office, in your home, in your bathroom. When you go to department stores, they are permeating and they are everywhere. You walk into the market, you just think of any place you go to a theater, there's just the materials, everything in this reality for the most part, except in nature, right? If you're in a forest, everything is, natural. So when you get into a sauna, you begin to sweat. If you don't sweat within the first 5 minutes, you're plugged. And I will tell you, for women, it's worse. Why? Because of all the the chemicals, the petroleum products, even if you're someone that goes to, say, an esthetician and you get needling for collagen or you get vampire, I mean, there's all these different protocols, right? That women and men do it, but primarily women, because they have so many protocols that they use, that they partake in. And I'm not saying all women, there are more women, and it's not like they're conscious or unconscious. I just want to make that distinction. It's just that it's an evolutionary process of awareness. And I always say, become aware of being aware. And once you do, you can look right through and you can see with vision what's really going on. It's a metaphor for like Neo getting unplugged from the Matrix. Like, oh, wow. I really see what the fuck is going on. It's like you're captured, and either it takes you down or it just gives you perspective. So getting back to the sauna, it's the same thing. The more you do a sauna, at least twice a week if you can get one, or go to one, preferably a company, or if there's a place, or depending on where you live around the world. Obviously, there's Finnish saunas. There's I wouldn't recommend hot tubs. I do not recommend hot tubs because you cannot sweat in a hot tub, contrary to popular belief. But in a sauna, you can. A dry sauna, which is typically the one, that's what I want to get. I want to get a dry sauna. Dry sauna is better in the sense because you've got the biophotons coming from, say, the lava rock or the granite or something like that. Oh, got a helicopter going on, Coast Guard. And, within the first 20 to 30 minutes, you are pouring sweat if you're unplugged. And, the more you do it, the more you create flow. Like usually what I'll do before sauna is I'll do dry brushing, hit all the lymph nodes or the lymph glands, right? In your back between the shoulder blades, called the cistern, okay? And what else? Oh. And so it's super important, because most people go to allopathic, doctors, some go to alternative and things like that, but they'll prescribe things. So what you're doing is you're layering, you're bandaging things. It's like when people go to estheticians and they're doing all these procedures, or you go to a dermatologist and they give you these topical ointments or these steroids or whatever it is to address all these problems, but it's deeper, okay? The issues are in the tissues, okay? Not my line. That was from somebody at a conference with Wim Hof. It wasn't Wim that said it, was somebody in the audience, this Indian guy. It was a great line. The issues are in the tissues. So I'll never forget that. And it's true, right? As I've said before, there's 5 pillars: energetic, spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. And so it's as above, so is below. And, for women, getting back to women in a sense, when when you're using makeup, nail polish, eyeliner, rouge, hair coloring, the clothes you choose, right? All those, Lululemon shit, sorry to say, but all that stuff is plastic right up in the where. And those are very permeable areas, and here you are putting plastics, nanoparticulates of ink, of plastic, right in there. Okay, same thing with guys. It's true. Like if you buy a bathing suit, a typical bathing suit, the liner inside, it's all plastic. So you're playing sports, you're running, you're sweating, right there in the nads, you're taking in that stuff. So it's important to get things like linen, real organic linen, where it can be found. You can go on various websites, Etsy, just look around. Not linen cotton blend. I mean, that's better than nothing, and you want natural pigments, color pigments. So that's my little riff on clothing and stuff like that. But when you think about these things, right, your whole environment, you're surrounded with all of these petrochemicals, VOCs, and all sorts of toxins. And it depends on your lifestyle too, right? If you're indoors or if you're outdoors more often. So sauna is kind of coming back to center here. So sauna is the way to remove these toxins. And saunas can go pretty deep, like to the bone. So there are places, and I want to just comment on this too. If you've come across or you'll see them, there are places popping up all over the place, sort of like coffee shops that are, they are sauna centers. There's names. I'm not going to name them. You can do the research. But the reason I bring it up, and again, it could be just lack of awareness. There's a lot of marketing schemes a lot, and they're really good. They'll use all the right photobiomodulation, RGB, which means red, green, blue lights, LED lights. And LED stands for light emitting diodes. And LED lights are super toxic if they're not calibrated to the right frequency, the diodes, right? I can do another video on that. And in the meantime, anything I'm talking about, I sort of jump around. If you haven't already noticed, just drop a comment below. I'll try to stay on point here. We're talking about saunas, red light therapy, and how this all comes together in your overall health and wellness, okay? And typically, when I do sessions with people, I'm going to integrate this. Not always, but in most cases, I can usually tell if someone's plugged or blocked because of how it reflects in their reality. They don't have flow. They don't have movement. They're not going and doing and accomplishing and seeing and realizing and awakening and expanding to who they are. And the reason I say that is because I've had to go through that, and I'm still going through that. I work with people, psychics, mediums. We all have mentors and people that help us out too, friends, colleagues, and guide us. I'm not a know-it-all, but I want to know it all, or as much as I can. I want to experience it. And I hope that's the same for you if you're here and you're on this journey as well, because it matters. And so just thought I'd throw that out there. What else do I want to say? Take a sip of coffee. Got a drink, grab yourself a drink, stay hydrated. Well, this is coffee, but it's my medicinal coffee. I've got a really kick-ass colostrum powder in there. I've got raw organic vanilla, cinnamon, bacopa, Monnieri in a powder form, and what else? Something else. Some raw cream. I just drink coffee once a day. Anyway, good stuff. So, staying hydrated. That's a key thing too, because hydration, conductivity, movement, flow, sunshine, water, grounding. You see how all these things fit in? They all contribute to the conductivity and the longevity of your vessel. It really matters. And so, again, a foundational tool. And I'm going to get to it where, you're going, well, where am I going to get a sauna? Or the saunas or this or that. So there are centers. Like I was mentioning earlier, they're now popping up. They're sauna centers, right? Where you can go in and you can sweat. I think there's places called Sweat. There's whatever. Just look them up in your neighborhood. If they're not there yet, they'll soon be coming. Why are they coming? Well, they're trying to address the big toxic overload, the toxic load that's happening with people. People are just, they're super toxic, and obviously medical insurance and going into a hospital is not really. That's not healthcare. That's sick care. Sorry to say, unless you have someone that's genuinely, authentically, primordially trained, experienced. But yeah, most practitioners, for me personally, I don't trust. Because they're bad people, but just because they didn't get the right interactions and data, because most of the academic curriculum that they have is completely outdated and, nefarious at best. Even in the alternative world, I will say the functional medicine, the integrative medicine, the holistic, the traditional Chinese, you take what works and chuck the rest. That's the best thing I can tell you. I'm not trying to knock all these people, but especially in the allopathic community, that's primarily where it all stems from. But it's spilled over into all the alternative, right? Like I looked into getting like a degree in nutrition, but I'm like, okay, well, where do they get their curriculum from? Who taught them, right? And the thing is, things are always things are always changing. The only thing that's constant is change. So here today, gone later today. So I like to be in the flow, right? Don't you? Okay, so here we are, back to center. Sauna, sauna, sauna. So this company, I'm working with them. They're called Therasage. This is not a Therasage. Why are you talking about Therasage, Josh, if you don't have one? Because I've done the research and I'm just sharing my opinion. I invite you to not believe a word I say and do your own research as well. I am affiliated with them, so I make a small commission. But I love promoting products that I've investigated, researched, and I'm sharing with you for the simple reason that it's going to help you benefit your overall wellness. And it's just one tool in the wellness toolbox that I'm recommending, among others. And so red light therapy. So people get saunas now. They're these hip, slick, and cool saunas that basically are like, they're like spaceships. You go in, they got all the cool LEDs, they've got the music, they've got all the stuff. The issue I have with these companies is they're not revealing to you, what the actual mechanism is of how these saunas actually work. Are the diodes? Is this information? Is the power cord leaking non-native EMF electricity? Because here's the thing: when you go into a sauna, you want to be naked, no clothes, nothing. Okay, and you want to sweat. So if you have clothes on, if you have fake lighting in there, guess what? All of the signal, all of that dirty electricity is going into your pores as you're opening up. So you're not detoxing, you're retoxing. Big difference. You want to have towels, preferably organic terry cloth towels, hemp, organic, whatever. All of these things matter because they have a compounding effect. All right. So just be aware, take care, then share. When you go to look for a sauna, and I'll put the link for Therasage. They have one that is far infrared, and it's one that you sit inside of it. Your head is out, but you can also put towels out so you sweat, right? So your whole body, in a matter of minutes, you're sweating, and the temp is right. There's no leakage of EMFs. And for the love of source, don't go in a sauna with your phone, with your wearable. No blue light technology at all. Like, I'm here with you right now. I'm by a window. So I've got window open. I've got light coming in, full spectrum light, right? My screen has a block. You can't see it on your end, but it blocks the blue light coming off here. So I do things, I've got wired headphones, not the wireless crap that everyone's wearing. And those iPod pieces, that side note, no bueno. I mean, that stuff is worse than putting a phone to your head, really. I mean, everyone's running around looking like a Borg. Sorry, that's my judgment, but that's what I see. And so, okay, so there you go. So non-native EMF, blue light, none of those things go in the sauna. And, do your investigation with these sauna centers and detox centers. Do they even have the knowledge? Because usually they have a curriculum too. They have a marketing campaign, especially if it's a franchise, right? They have to stay within a box as to what they can say, what they can do. The saunas look great. They have all these colors. They show you, people laying with these towels and colored lights are going on, and they're listening to solfeggio frequencies. People have no idea what that stuff does to your consciousness. You think it's benefiting you, right? Short-term pleasure, long-term pain, or short-term pain, long-term pleasure. You get to choose. And I know not a lot of people are aware of this type of information. I happen to be, and I'm sharing it with you. You can do with it whatever you want with it. You can say, oh, he's conspiratorial, No, facts. But a lot of the information is suppressed. So I'm just bringing it to the surface for your consideration. And you draw your own conclusions through your own experience to it. Don't believe a word I say. And I'm serious about that. Don't. I'm just sharing it. If it resonates with you, if the skin crystals on your body are standing, well, there's your confirmation. So there we have it, right? So we have saunas, sauna. Get yourself a sauna. It's worth the investment. You will begin to see things. I mean, I can't even begin to label heart issues, breathing issues, skin issues, brain fog, depression, anxiety. It's because you're plugged. It's that simple. And when you're plugged, it blocks conductivity between organs, tissue, neuroplasticity, neurons, neurodendrites, everything. I mean, I don't even know all the names and words for all these things, but the one thing I can tell you is it blocks things. And when you block things, now the body has to acclimate. So it's called synergistic dominance. So say one side of your body is weak, well, the other side now has to carry the weight of that and adjust itself. So, posture, alignment, stretching, movement. And I'm not perfect at this at all. I do my best to be consistent and disciplined with that. And, they say, the difference between, what is it, a habit and like a ritual, okay? It takes like 21 days, depending on what it is, because as we evolve, age, right, we have to do things like, if you open the door with your left hand, open it with your right hand. If you eat with your left hand, do it with your right hand. Switch things up, create the coherence, in the brain. And when you do these things in the sauna, man, magic happens. It really does. You can come back here and thank me later, but that's really where the shift happens. And, you can do everything from gua sha, you do dry brushing before. That's where you take a dry specific, the bristles are made of like cactus hairs or things like that. Sometimes they're from, I don't know if they're horse hairs or whatever, but you open. So you're triggering the opening of the fascial, the fascia within the body, also the lymph system. So like, for instance, in the early rising hours, I will do something like, I'll get up and I will go in the armpits and just push in. If you can push in your arms and it hurts, you have oxalates. Oxalates are crystallizations from synthetics. If you're on prescription drugs, if you're on artificial, or you're eating a fast food diet, remove the S from fast food, and what do you got? Exactly. So when you're doing these things, you create oxalates in the body. Oxalates tighten you up, lock you up. Your fascia can't move. You're bending. You see people, they're older, right? They're locked up. Their joints, their tissue, the cartilage. You want to flow. You want to be loosey-goosey, There's a guy I've seen on Instagram. He's doing some really great stuff, but I'll maybe post a link for him. But he's kind of correlated the whole connection between Tesla, electricity flow, circuitry, frequency, and he's doing movements where he's just, doing things, and he's doing it all the time for, seconds in a day. Like if I'm sitting in front of my computer, I have what's called a Pomodoro clock. It's just like 5, 10, 15, 25 an hour. So I block time so I can pull away from this, and then I'll set it for 5 minutes and I'll just do something. Have like an iron bat, or I'll stretch, or I'll move, or I'll go outside and go for a walk. But you gotta get flow, okay? And this is one of the quickest ways to get flow, is to open yourself up, do saunas 2 to 3 times a week, move your body, and you'll find your complexion, everything begins to change. I mean, mine is not perfect, but it's a lot better than what it was, And stress, obviously, everyone's exposed to stress. So we need to do things to minimize the stress. And guess what? My buddy right there helps to reduce stress big time. Why? Because it slows the heart rate down. You open up the pores, you begin to sweat, you begin to relax, the cortisol levels drop, the adrenaline levels drop, you come into parasympathetic mode, you begin to relax, and then you come out. And then what I do, because I'm in Florida, so I have bottles of cold water that I keep in the fridge. So I keep them by the tub. When I get in the shower, boom, I pour the cold water on. That's cold shock. There's heat shock and cold shock. You don't have to do that. That's something, another level as you start. But what the cold does is it creates cold thermogenesis. So now what you're doing is you're pushing all of those toxins. I mean, the sauna is doing it, but so is the cold. And it's creating a nice little brief cortisol, but it just wakes you up. You become more alert. There's no more brain fog, right? Your thoughts, your ideas, your creativity begins to spark. You're like a new person. I'm totally serious. So it's worth it for you to get off the pain train and get on the No Stress Express by investing in a sauna. Whether you get it through me or wherever else, I can give you names of companies that there's hundreds of them. So when you get a sauna, you want to look out for the materials. There's no non-native EMFs. There's no, what they say about the heaters, because most of them are far infrared, near infrared, but you can buy these more expensive ones they're really great. They're worth the investment 100-fold, right? Dry saunas is what I recommend. That's my next sauna, is a dry sauna, not far infrared, not near infrared. That's like the biohacking, whacking stuff. Get out in the sunlight. That's the other thing. Sunlight, full spectrum light. You got the near infrared and far infrared right there. Get an app called DMinder. DMinder will tell you, based on where you live around the globe, what the longitude, latitude, and what UVB light spectrum you're exposed to, depending on the time of the year. I'll put a link for that. It's a great app. There's other ones similar to it. It's one I've been using for years. UVB light is what creates sulfation for vitamin D. Right? The only way to get vitamin D, I know I'm dropping some extra stuff in here. There's no pill, powder, or supplement or liquid, I don't care who makes it, that can replace sunlight. The only way, if your D levels are low, the only true, authentic, primordial way to do it is from the sun. And if you cannot get it from the sun, perhaps I'll do another video on that. And there's one product, company that I work for, I'll later put a link for it. Perhaps I'll do another video of that. But if you have questions, drop them below, let me know. And that authentically is the closest thing to having full spectrum sunlight and creating vitamin D in the skin, in the blood serum, okay? But I don't care who it is, D3K2, the hippest, slickest, coolest, latest company with all the great marketing bells and whistles and glassy slides and athletes and celebrities who use it and confess that, oh my God, my life is changing so much since I use this. Bullshit, okay? The one guy that I trust that really knows is, his name is Dr. Alexander Wunsch, German photobiologist. This guy is like a savant when it comes to photolight therapy, light therapy, sunlight, circadian rhythms. I'll put a link for some of his stuff in here. Highly recommend you watch. Once you learn, then you'll know, and then you create the flow. That's how we go. So I hope I dropped some awareness in here today for you. A little bit over time, I think. Went a little half. I try to go half hour and cram as much in here, but make it worth your while. So I'll probably end up uploading these on YouTube as well. So if you have any questions, as always, drop them below. I'm always evolving, uncovering, discovering, discarding that which no longer works, and bringing in new things. So like I said, the only thing that's constant is change. Never static, never one-dimensional. In a box, I'm breaking the box out. No more box for us. We're not in the box. We're outside. We're free. But yeah, saunas. Saunas are key for detoxification, for rejuvenation, for regeneration, for just the ultimate happy joy. There we go. Happy joy, elation. The elation station of higher vibration. That's where we make the penetration. All right. Happy holidays. I'll probably see you after the new year. Let's create a new, I don't know, trying to come up with a rhyme for 2026. We get our kicks in 2026, the year of the horse. And that is the course, man. We're creating momentum, drive. We're hitting it. We're doing it. We're making it work. So sending you lots of love. Self-healing is truly revealing. Go for it. Do it. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. All right? Just create and gyrate. Ciao.